The heat was a living thing in New Orleans that August. It pressed down on you, thick and wet, but the storm was supposed to be the usual dance. We had boarded up the windows, stocked the cans, and waited for the wind to whine itself out. We were wrong. We were terribly, terribly wrong. It began with a sound that was not wind or rain. It was a groan, a grinding noise deep in the earth, followed by a roar that swallowed the city's usual noise. That was the levee. That was the moment the river claimed us. The water arrived not as a creeping tide, but as a violent brown fist. It punched through the front door, splintering the frame, and rushed into the house with shocking speed. Within minutes, the floorboards were submerged. The furniture began to float, bumping and shifting in the gloom. Panic is a cold knife in the gut, but we didn't freeze. We climbed. We scaled the staircase, pulling ourselves into the cramped low attic. We thought we were safe there, above the disaster. But the water was hungry. It kept rising. You could hear it below us, a constant sloshing and bubbling, chewing on the foundation. Then we saw the line creep up the wall inside the attic. 1 inch, 2 inches, 10. The air grew thick and stale, trapping the humid breath in our lungs. We realized the attic was just a temporary box. When the water touched the ceiling, we would drown in the dark. There was only one direction left. Up. My hands were shaking as I took the axe. The sound of splitting wood felt weak against the relentless noise of the churning flood. We chopped a hole through the roof just large enough to squeeze through. I pushed the woman ahead of me first, then hauled myself out, gasping for the spoiled air. The world had vanished. Below us, where streets and homes used to be, was nothing but a vast, terrifying inland sea of brown, oily water littered with the wreckage of a civilization. Pieces of houses, cars, trees, and unnameable things drifted past, and we were stranded. We were on the peak of a steep, shingled roof. It was maybe 4 meters above the waterline. The sun was rising, a brassy, merciless eye in the sky, and instantly, the torture began. The asphalt shingles absorbed the heat like a griddle. Within an hour, the roof was scorching. We peeled off our clothes, trying to create thin, pitiful padding between our skin and the burning tiles. But it was useless. The heat radiated up into us, baking us from the bottom while the sun fried us from above. The first day was defined by thirst. It wasn't just dryness, it was an ache, a metallic flavor that coated the back of my throat. We looked at the water surrounding us, millions of gallons of it, polluted and undrinkable. A monstrous irony. We cupped our hands, desperately hoping for a passing storm cloud, a merciful drop, but the sky was brutally clear. We started to argue over the last few sips we had saved in a battered plastic bottle before leaving the house. The arguments were weak, cracked whispers, fueled by delirium, not rage. The second day, the sun became our enemy. It drilled into our skulls. We huddled near the chimney, praying for a sliver of shade, anything to break the blinding, terrible light. Our lips were cracked and bleeding. The skin on our arms was turning purple and blistering. The visual horror intensified. The debris field was constantly changing. Now and then, something large would float by, something that had once been alive. I had to look away. I had to stop counting them. The reality of the catastrophe was too vast to comprehend, and the forced proximity to death made the air feel heavy. We saw other roofs, distant figures clinging to their own fragile islands. We screamed until our voices shredded, trying to signal them, but the wind carried our pleas away, twisting them into meaningless echoes. They were too far, or maybe they were just ghosts, reflecting our own desperate state back at us. At night, the fear changed form. The heat vanished, replaced by a damp, bone-chilling cold. The sound of the wind, coupled with the sloshing of the water, played tricks on the mind. Every bump, every distant splash, suggested movement. Was it rescue? Or was it something else swimming toward us, drawn by our desperation? We talked in strained fragments. We spoke about cold drinks, ice cubes, the simple joy of standing on solid ground. We talked about silly, small things, anything to keep the looming dread at bay. But the silences grew longer. The heat had stripped away our humanity, leaving us raw nerves clinging to hot tiles. I began to see things in the water. Ripples that weren't ripples. Shapes that reformed and vanished. Was the lack of water shrinking my brain? Or was the trauma opening a door to something darker? I saw a hand wave from beneath the brown surface, a gesture of impossible, silent farewell. I blinked, and it was a waterlogged tree branch, but the image remained, seared into my already damaged vision. By the third day, the hunger was secondary to the thirst, a dull, nagging reminder of mortality. My entire body felt like dried parchment. I prayed for unconsciousness, for the sweet relief of simply giving up, but some primal instinct, hardwired into the deepest part of the brain, kept me awake, kept me clinging. Then there was a sound. Not the distant drone of a boat, not the usual whine of the wind. It was a rhythmic thumping, growing steadily louder. Hope is a dangerous thing when you are broken. It fills you up too fast. I stood up, swaying precariously on the steep angle of the roof. My vision swam. The air was hazy with the heat rising off the water. The rhythmic thumping intensified, and through the distorted air, I saw it. A dark, angular shape moving across the sky. A helicopter. I screamed, a weak, croaking sound that tore my throat. I waved my arms, not caring if I fell, not caring about the sun or the pain. I was waving at salvation. The helicopter saw us. It hovered, kicking up a furious hot gale that felt like rain, but was only noise and wind. A basket was lowered, swinging wildly in the air. We moved slowly, stiffly, like mummies unraveling. The journey into that basket was the final, terrifying hurdle. Falling into that foul water now, after all this, would have been the ultimate betrayal. When the ground crew pulled us out, the concrete felt strange beneath my feet, too stable, too firm. I looked back, high above the chaos, at the small, broken house that had been our prison, our oven, and our final sanctuary. They rushed us to triage. Doctors spoke to us, asking questions we couldn't answer. We were safe, they said. The immediate danger was over, but the real horror never leaves the rooftop. Sometimes, even now, years later, when I drink a glass of ice water, the cold burns my throat instead of soothing it. I wake up covered in sweat, convinced I can smell the hot asphalt shingles and the stagnant oil-slicked water. I feel the phantom ache of the sun on my skull. We survived the heat and the flood, but the roof is still there, suspended in my mind. A burning tile prison meters above the wreckage of the world. And the hand I saw waving from the water, that impossible farewell, still reaches for me every time I close my eyes. Some things cannot be rescued. They only endure.